Welcome to this March 14th, 2021 Issues and Administrator Update for the Board of County Commissioners. Gary, you have the call.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Schrader is on Zoom today. The other commissioners are here in the room. We have a long list, and due to some scheduling issues, we're going to end this at 11:30 a.m. today. So there's no way we're going to finish this list by then, in which case we will continue at 3 p.m. today after the last policy session. I'm going to rotate the order of the items on issues. I'll do a hard stop at 11, and then we'll do the consent agenda at 11, so that we'll finish that by 11:30. That's the plan. So please be ready, everyone. Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start with the proposed Portland General Electric Hazard Mitigation Grant. Daniel Neibauer, the Interim Director of Disaster Management. We also have guests from Portland General Electric. If they would please come forward at this time. Come to the table, please. Come on down. And Daniel, I'll ask you to please introduce our guests and then go ahead and introduce the item. There was a memo in your packet, Commissioners. Go ahead, Daniel.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and Administrator Smith. I'm Daniel Neibauer, Interim Director of Disaster Management, and here I have Shauna Brownson with PGE and
Jennifer Galloway
with PGE to answer any questions. We're here to talk about a great opportunity to partner with PGE on a mitigation project to increase the resilience of the Mount Hood corridor. Jay Wilson, Resilience Coordinator, is here, and he can talk more about the project.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. PGE came to the county a few months ago with this idea of this really major project for resilience along the Highway 26 corridor. And what was so compelling is it fits in really strongly with some of the goals, objectives, and direct action items that we've had in our county mitigation plan for a number of years, especially around critical infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And so we're wanting to lean forward in this opportunity for using the BRIC funds, the Building Resilient Infrastructure for Communities that FEMA has just put out, notice of funding opportunity for this year. And we think there's a lot of strategizing here for multiple years of applications. And this is really the question here is making sure that we can get the grant opportunity to work with the context of the implementation of this over multiple years.
And so what we're asking is we need to put a pre-application notice into the state to let them know that we would like to apply, and the state will then assess all the projects and invite us to apply. And so we would like your approval to
Okay,
submit.
we're going to have the PGE representatives introduce themselves, give a slight background, and then explain the project. Now, my understanding is the PGE is going to be making and desirous of making huge infrastructure improvements in Clackamas County, and you can explain what those are. But the process is the government must apply for the FEMA grant, but PGE is going to be responsible for everything else going forward as far as even reimbursement of our time to do this, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so why don't we just go ahead and we'll have the PGE representatives. We'll start here first. Please introduce your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, and please explain the project.
Absolutely. My name is Shauna Brownstein, and I want to thank Chair Smith and commissioners for having us here today. You may remember me from my time at Northwest Natural, where I served in local government affairs for 8 years, and now I'm at PGE for the last 2.5 years, really serving in the intersection between climate, resiliency, transportation electrification, and community needs. And so that's my interest in this project, because it really meets a lot of those needs. And this is my colleague, Jennifer Galloway.
Jennifer Galloway. I've been at PGE since 2007. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Oregon. I've been managing our transmission planning engineering department for about 3 years. I've been in planning either distribution or transmission, or I've also worked in our transmission operations department as well. And one of my main responsibilities is developing capital projects to mitigate issues on our system, and that can be with regards to federal compliance or things like this where it's more of a resiliency effort.
Okay. Could somebody explain the project briefly?
Thank you, Chair Smith. This project is a massive undergrounding effort. So the project is broken into 4 stages, and it will underground power lines along the Route 26 Mount Hood corridor, as well as up to the Bull Run watershed. The idea behind this is to mitigate wildfire risk, increase community energy resiliency in the event of wildfire, so that we wouldn't have to turn. You may recall a year ago there was a public service, was it public safety power shutoff? It would decrease the chances of those, but in the event of a PSPS, the community of Welch's would serve as a resiliency zone. It would be able to stay powered by electricity because those lines would be undergrounded. And we've identified several critical infrastructure or service agencies in that area that we would be able to keep energized that could serve community needs.
And what about, you've targeted, was it 3 or 4 different substations with what again?
Yeah, so we would rebuild 4 substations. That is mainly to not only modernize the equipment, but with the undergrounding, we do need to make some modifications within the substations.
And that's with the newest technology to keep electricity flowing? Is that what I
Yes.
understand?
Yes.
And maybe emerging technologies that haven't been used yet, is that?
Yes, that's certainly on the table. At least one of the substations will be a gas-insulated substation.
A what?
A gas-insulated substation, so it's a little more enclosed. It's more of a compact design.
So what's the significance of Bull Run watershed?
The Bull Run watershed serves 1 million Oregonians with drinking water. And it also provides backup drinking water beyond those 1 million people.
So that facility is located in Clackamas County.
Yes, that's
But
right.
it serves other counties.
That's right.
Mainly Multnomah and the city of Portland.
Yes, although I do believe that there are communities outside of Multnomah County that have, it's sort of like a mutual assistance agreement that if they are having issues with fresh drinking water, like the community of Sandy, for example, which is located in Clackamas County, if they're having issues with their drinking water, they would be served by Bull Run. So yeah, to me, it's a really interesting intergovernmental partnership possibility where Clackamas County has the ability to come forward as a leader, and the city of Portland, Multnomah County, Washington County, and other communities within Clackamas County would all benefit from that.
Well, this is a very ambitious project, and the total cost is running, what I was told, anywhere from $500 million to $600 million, of which PGE's responsibility is 25%. Is that correct?
That is the required match for the FEMA BRIC grant process.
And this is a series of grants, $50 million per year.
That's right. That's the cap on the grant, the FEMA BRIC piece.
And so you have outlined for us in the paperwork that each year you accomplish one with the $50 million, and then you go on to the next year. What happens if you don't get, for instance, you're able to accomplish years 1 and 2, what does that do for years 3 and 4? Do years 1 and 2, would they be able to stand alone in their efforts to accomplish what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so it's a wonderful question, and that's the way we've staged it. So each of these projects could stand alone and would create benefit for the county. And our intention is, and the guidance we've received from OEM, which is the state agency that's responsible for reviewing these applications, the guidance we've gotten is to stage it in this way, and that FEMA wants to see staged projects like this. We also anticipate other federal funds that will become available over the next year to 5 years, and we will be looking for opportunities to provide additional funding for these projects. So the FEMA BRIC grant opportunity is the first opportunity, but we anticipate additional opportunities.
Well, that's good to know. Now, the county's role in this is significant, but I was also told that PGE could be hiring an independent consultant, a FEMA expert, in helping do paperwork and assisting the county efforts in this. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. We're hiring ICF.
Who?
ICF,
IGS?
ICF.
IDS, okay. Don't know him, but thank you. At least you have a name. That's wonderful.
I will say that Jay Wilson was very happy to hear that we were going with ICF. He felt that they were an excellent engineering consultant too.
I'm happy with you going with the consultant because it relieves our staff. Although our staff is really anxious or supportive of this, and we're all quite good on this. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, this is great to hear. Obviously, there are a lot of transmission lines that went down that apparently contributed to fires that are not owned by PGE. So we're hoping maybe that, those other companies can maybe do something in kind similar. But my question was related, as somewhat of an aside, but related to making an investment this size, is that there's a pretty big calling for more electrical grid capacity for electrification. How much of that is built into this investment?
All the substations will be built to accommodate future things like electrification. If we built the substations based on the load growth today, we wouldn't need the kind of size of transformers and things that we are looking at putting in this project. We want to make sure that we're going to build this right day one, and so we don't have to go back and redo things.
Okay. I just want to say that the Association of Oregon Counties, a couple, 3 years ago, I was one of the panelists who ran a discussion about electrification, and I think there was a lot of talk around I-5, the corridor for electrification, but not much along 97, a different utility or different utilities along the way. But it seems that 26 is a connector, frankly, of both. Mm-hmm. And I'm just hopefully that we're, all of us collectively are thinking along those lines, that we build that electrification capacity. I don't know if there's any other grants available or funding from the federal, the state, that would help augment the cost.
So, Commissioner, I just want to clarify, you're talking about transportation electrification?
Yes,
okay. Yeah, so a couple of things I just want to make sure folks are aware of. There is an Oregon Solutions process underway right now to look at the government camp rest stop, and we are part of that. So we will be ensuring that the transportation electrification lens is brought to the table and that investments are made. Additionally, the West Coast Electric Highway, the Oregon piece of that, just chose a new vendor to upgrade the West Coast Electric Highway sites in Oregon. There are 44 sites, and I believe that there is at least one on Highway 26. So I think I just want to make sure you know about that. Additionally, I think one of the pieces of the Welch's Resiliency Zone that I'm really excited about is introducing new technologies that can help with resiliency. So, for example, you could imagine vehicle-to-grid technology, stationary battery storage, renewable energy generation, and vehicles that can then come and serve perhaps a school building during an emergency. So those are the sorts of things we're thinking about and ensuring that as we make these upgrades, we're bringing that holistic picture to the table.
There's some fascinating technology out there, one of them being hydrogen storage. Mm-hmm. That is electrically, under non-peak periods, generates hydrogen, and then when it needs it, the hydrogen starts creating electricity to backfill the grid. So there's some fascinating things that are happening. The state of California is pretty aggressive about that.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you. I am trying to study all the maps and try to look at where this will reach and how far it will go. So what we hear about is when the wind picks up and the power is shut off, and then we target our emergency response to, okay, who is absolutely needing power? Are there people with CPAP machines or other types of equipment that is life-threatening? When I look at these maps, when it looks at how far the underground lines are going to go, I don't have a sense of who of our residents will be protected by this in the event of a severe weather event and who won't be. So I'm wondering if you know that or if you can comment on that.
Yeah, so just a couple comments. One is I believe that, this is one line. It's, I think, how many miles is it?
It's about 20 miles.
And as you know, the population density in that area is not high. So the number of customers that it will directly impact, I believe, is it 7,000?
I don't remember.
Yeah. But what I want to make sure folks understand is that this is one piece of the puzzle, and PGE is thinking about and developing products to serve those other needs. One of the products we're really researching right now is how do we create reliability for people who have electricity-dependent medical equipment. And we're going to be, I believe, testing some pilot projects fairly soon. But the idea would be providing assurance to people who rely on electricity for their medical equipment to know that if there is a windstorm and the electricity goes out, that they have 24 hours, 48 hours to be able to run their equipment. I know that's something that came out of the February storm and something that we immediately began working on.
So this will affect 7,000 customers. How many customers will not be impacted by this work?
Forgive me, I don't know the delta between Clackamas County population and the number of people who wouldn't.
Oh, I'm just thinking about in the Mount Hood area.
Everyone on these areas, in this area would benefit from the undergrounding. But when I misunderstood your question, I'm thinking about the smaller lines that might serve directly to houses that, you know, a limb could fall on a line that goes into a house and knock out the power. And then there are areas outside of this that, you know, outside of the Mount Hood corridor that would not be impacted by this as well.
Right, I'm just thinking of when the winds pick up and the power gets shut off to stop the wildfires, how many customers will continue to have their power cut off, is what I'm curious about.
I believe it's 7,000.
Oh, will have their power cut off?
No, I believe that in the event of a public safety power shutoff in this area, 7,000 customers would maintain power.
Right. I'm curious about how many would not maintain power.
I don't have the answer to that.
We're still scoping out that smaller distribution piece. This addresses the top level piece. This is the source for all of these substations in this corridor. So this is the highest level. This is what we turn off in a PSPS or high winds. If these lines go down, everybody goes down, period. This is the highest level voltage that we have in the area that we want to underground so that we have at least the top level reliable. And then the Welch's Resiliency Zone will have some of that distribution main line undergrounded as well, so we can get that next stage. And then there's the final stage of the individual homes that we're still working through.
That's great. Any other questions or comments for the presenters on this? I understand application must be made by September 27th. Is that right, Daniel?
23rd, I believe.
23rd, excuse me, wrong on the date. So it seems to me that we have some work to do on this. Gary, what's our procedure on this?
So the request today is to put it on your consent agenda. If the answer was no, we'd be done. It sounds like you're leaning towards yes. So if so, we'll put it on your business meeting consent agenda for next week.
For next week?
Yes, that's all right. Daniel, that works? Next
Correct,
week's the
that will work.
23rd, right?
We don't need it for this week. You're already
No.
going to go ahead and do what you need to do?
We'll get all the paperwork done.
Okay, all right.
And Chair Smith, I just want to be clear, this is the pre-application. And
Yes.
if the state determines that they want us to move forward, there will be more work to do.
Well, I'm excited about this project. You know, I like the thought of the new emerging technologies. I love the fact that we're going to upgrade, that you're going to upgrade our substations. That's very important. And the fact that we're going to try to secure the water supply at Bull Run that benefits, 3 counties. I think that's showing extreme greater good for an overall population who is reliant on that watershed for their drinking water. So, Gary, I see no objections to this. We don't need to make a motion?
No.
No. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for thinking of Clackamas County.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next, we'll do Eagle Fern Weir Dam Project Public Comment Update. Sarah Ekman, and if you brought any guests, please have them all come forward. All right, Sarah, please introduce our guests and go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and Administrator Schmidt. I am here today. My name is Sarah Ekman, the Interim Director with Business and Community Services. I'm joined by Tom Riggs, our Parks and Forestry Manager. Dave Stewart, who is the district fish biologist with the Oregon Department of Fish and
I
Wildlife.
switched that. Stream restoration biologist.
I read them in reverse order. Stream restoration biologist, the North Willamette Watershed District. Thank you, Dave. And then we have Ben Walsack, who's the district fish biologist with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're here today to give you an update on a project we initially asked and discussed with you in March, late March. And that is the removal of a lowhead dam out at Eagle Fern Park. It's called the Eagle Fern Weir. And we've had some developments in that process since we last discussed this project, so we wanted to give you an update and talk about next steps. When the floodplain permit was filed for this, the Barton Eagle Creek Community Planning Organization, as part of the notification process, received notice of the permit. They expressed concern about the project and that the permit notification was the first time they'd heard about the project. We, through a series of emails and kind of the perfect storm of staff turnover, vacations, emails not being delivered, and all those sorts of things, we're not able to get them the information they had requested in the 20-day period that's allowed for a conversation around the permit before they have to make the decision to file an appeal or not. In the absence of that information, they did file an appeal and move forward. The two premises for the appeal were a breakdown of the public input mechanism, which is what I've just mentioned in terms of that formal process. They also alluded and discussed just the overall lack of public involvement, which we'd like to talk about as well. And then they made a reference to the Clackamas County Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 9, Paragraph 2.
The Clackamas County what?
Comprehensive Plan. So I do want to just accept responsibility in terms of public involvement for this. We could have done better. We did have information on this and, intended to do more than actually occurred. So we have met with the CPO. I've met with Brent Perry's, the chairman, several times over the telephone, and then Tom Riggs and I attended their meeting last Thursday and talked with them. We did have, public conversations about this project, both at the Parks Advisory Board, here with you. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife hosted a community conservation webinar on the topic. And then we did see a recent Oregon Wildlife Foundation newsletter, which also discussed the project. Recently, signage was placed at the park as well. So through this process, the land use hearings officer did determine yesterday that he was going to recommend upholding the county approval of the floodplain permit, although he did acknowledge that public involvement could have been more robust. So that came out yesterday. We definitely do think we could have done better on this, and so we wanted to give you an update on this process. Mr. Stewart's here to talk a bit about the project itself, and then I wanted to share with you some things we're doing to ensure that we have increased public participation going forward. There's some issues and timelines that are very tight on this project, and so we'll talk about those. I've mentioned Tom and I attended the CPO meeting last week, which we did. We've met with Public and Government Affairs staff to talk about what we can do better going forward with the CPOs, and we'll be getting our staff training to do that. We're going to be working with our partners such as ODF and W to ensure we have more well-established, expectations between our agencies as well. Let's see here. We very much value the input of the CPO, and so we've been concerned as we've experienced this issue. As I mentioned, there's tight timelines on this project, so one of our purposes being here today is to fully brief you, answer your questions, and then talk about what happens next, because there's an in-water work window that closes at the end of this month. We have funding that ends in November, and so there's some complications as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr.
Sarah, I'm
Stewart.
sorry, because we have limited time, I'd like you to
Yes.
stop here and let the
Okay.
board ask you questions. The issue is the public comment.
Yeah, and so
It is.
I'm going to make the reason why you're here today is at my request.
Correct.
Because the last time the board voted on approving this, we had been assured that public outreach was conducted to the Eagle Creek CPO and any other concerned citizens, and in fact, that was not done. I don't know whose job it was. Dave Stewart, I believe you told us, if I am not mistaken, and I could be, that had been done when in fact that CPO did not get information. I have talked to the heads, who's the president or chair of the CPO. They would have filed an objection to this project going forward. However, they weren't ousted. This board takes seriously our citizens' involvement in government actions. And this was a direct violation of what everything we stand for. We talk about tight timelines. I believe, sir, you probably knew months and months in advance that this project was coming. So I am not one to necessarily believe, oh, timelines are tight, we need to hurry this through. That is never the case, especially with a dam removal. Now, the dam removal, we saw the pictures. It's not very high. It's about 3 feet. I understand it is not in good condition, and maybe it is in the best interest of the community to have it removed. But I understand that the swimming hole will be maintained, and there was an issue with fish, although I have been told that salmon really don't go up here from the locals there. There's a fish hatchery there. But I'm not going to debate whether fish are coming through here or not. That's not the purpose of this meeting. But I would really highly suggest any more action that's taken in Clackamas County for any other agency that wants to do business in Clackamas County, that we go through the process and we make sure our community members and our CPOs or hamlets or whatever jurisdiction that is involved that is notified and has ample opportunity to express their concerns and or support. Commissioner Savas, your card is up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When I first learned of this, I think some of you may remember, I made some pretty strong comments and gave some pretty good advice about reaching out. And, unfortunately, we're here today. But I just want to just say that, a number of public processes are now compromised as a result of COVID and the breakdowns in staffing, which is really, frankly, is all the more reason to try even harder, frankly, to do public outreach and take every extra step you can for public outreach. And that goes across the board in everything we do. We have to do better and try harder under these circumstances to prevent things like this. Just want to just close with that.
Any other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, if we miss the November funding deadline, what then? Can we do outreach in time to still meet the November deadline to get this funded?
No, that's the timeline. If we don't, if we don't get the project in now, there's a potential that we'll lose the funding to do the project, and this is from outside resources. Essentially, we've got the in-water time, and we've got a short, a week here or so to get this thing done. And if we don't get it done, there will be a number of salmon at the site, and then we're dealing with ESA and things like that. So to answer your question, no. I mean, we likely will lose funding to do the project, and we might not be able to do the project the next in-water window, which would be in July next year.
Okay, if it is funded, how soon can the Weir be removed?
Tomorrow.
It's a quick,
Everything's lined
short
up.
process.
We've got the consultants, the contractors, we had everything staged up and ready to go we were supposed to start, we were thinking initially last Monday. So we've had everything, we've just been waiting to kind of get the go-ahead.
Okay, thank you.
And there has been a ruling to go forward with this particular project, despite community input was absent. Correct, Sarah? You said that?
Correct. Yesterday, the land use hearing officer approved the county approval. He supported that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Martha, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a question about the fish. So you just made a remark that fish would be there. So the Weir has been essentially blocking fish passage for a long time?
They're going to answer that. Go ahead.
No,
ODFW?
not adult fish passage. Juvenile fish passage, it's a barrier. And we're talking about adult fish passage right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. Right.
Okay. Any other comments, sir? Please state your name.
My name is Ben Walzak. I work for Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it is important to note that this is not a complete barrier. It is a partial barrier. It's a low flow barrier. so not during high flows.
Right, right. Any other comments? Sarah, I really want to thank you for coming forward and being so forthright. I appreciate your efforts on this, recognizing that, we didn't get our public comment. It's just one way to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and then we try to involve all parties, and I appreciate your work on this very much. Any other commissioners with comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I've got this. So I went back to find when this was before the board before to make sure I could connect all the dots. And so I was kind of multitasking. Caught off a little bit by surprise. If we're going to, just as a request, I haven't received input from constituents about this, so I didn't know this was coming.
I did.
Yeah, so if we could ask staff to just give us a brief little memo about so I don't have to, do catch up to try to, since there wasn't anything online or in the packet. So we will, if we can get everything done within a week, we're going to be okay, and that will involve reaching out to the CPO to get input in order to complete the application, to get the funding. Is that?
No.
Am I understanding that?
No.
Okay, good. I'm glad I asked.
Input is not happening on this, correct?
Correct. So all of the permits, the applications, everything is complete and done and approved. The conversations have taken place with the CPO, but they were after the time period, and so it wasn't input in that sense. We've had conversations with them, we've heard their concerns, and we've discussed those. However, they were not resolved to, the extent had they been done in advance of the project and in that fashion.
Okay, just briefly, as I looked through the materials, it looked like the swimming hole was going to be preserved. I looked at the pictures. What are their concerns?
That's a great question. We did list some pieces out here. I'll just read you the quick list. Mr. Stewart's most equipped to answer some of these, but public recreational access is a large concern in terms of if this opportunity is removed, that it would be replaced with like recreational opportunity. The plans from the design consultants indicate that the recreational opportunity will not be removed. It will just be slightly modified. There's a question of whether or not it's appropriate to move the structure, the dam structure, and there's been conversation about if it's truly necessary to remove it at this part and discussion of erosion. There has been question about the fish passage and the stream bed restoration. There's also been concerns about there's logs being placed as part of the project and if those are safe both for children who are in the water and then for high water events where they could move down the waterway. And I think that's the main high points. There's just concern in general about those issues.
Thank you. It sounds like they're mindful of the community's use of this area. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I just want to close it for clarification, for everyone to understand. So much as I understand it, the hearings officer decided yesterday, it's not a county project, it's a state project. You're moving forward, and this is informational today.
Yes, informational.
So just to
Absolutely.
wrap
Thank
that
you,
up,
Paul.
Package, so everyone understands what we're doing.
I think that's it. Gary?
All right, thank you, Sarah, and our guests for being here. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it very much.
So just if I may, in terms of summarizing, we will move forward with the project, and then we'll ensure that public involvement is much more robust on all future projects, and we'll work with everybody on that.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you for that,
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thanks. With your permission, Chair, I'd like to move to the consent agenda because we really have to finish that, and that way I know it will be done if we can do
Yes.
next, please.
Gary, go
Okay,
ahead.
we'll do as quick as we can, team. Health, Housing, Human Services is first. First, approval of an interagency agreement with the Clackamas Health Centers Division for school-based health centers. Operating funds maximum agreement value is $180,000. No county general funds are involved. Rod, go ahead.
Yes, and this agreement provides the basis for a cooperative relationship for school-based health centers at Rex Putnam, Oregon City, and Sandy, and this is for the primary health care services part of it, and you're about to hear another one, which will be for the mental health, but this is for primary health care centers.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, so usually when this is online, we can push on Health, Housing, Human Services, and we get an index and we can follow along.
Is it missing?
Presentations, it's not linking. I don't know, Paul, are you able to get it?
I'm trying to open it right now.
I don't have any linkage.
I'm sorry, Commissioners, you asked for that before, and we said it would be done, and apparently it didn't happen, so I apologize.
I wonder if it's
I'm sorry.
a connection issue with this room.
It's not a connection, it's just that it's not on the site.
Oh,
I mean, it's really hard to know what's going on if we can't follow along. Is it anywhere else online, these sheets?
I thought was it in an email.
It was not included in the
Oh,
email.
where did I read that? I read it.
Well, actually, at least what I raised last week is now on the website, so I can see that.
Yeah, that's on the website, but now the linkage to some more.
Right, exactly. So the link is to see the deeper.
Off the Clackamas County webpage.
Okay, interesting. Mark has it on his laptop, but our iPad devices don't have.
No, I have my laptop.
You have your
No, what it is, for clarification, is that, Commissioner Fisher just stated it, is that previously, you could tap on the highlighted agenda item and open up the packet
Right,
for it. That
right.
feature is now, so last week, we didn't have any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have half of it. We just don't have the live link to open
Yeah, we had the
each of the
index
attachments.
if we
What do you recommend?
clicked on it. But I don't know, it's a challenge for me because I do really read these as we go through them.
I know.
So I can either go back and do my homework later, or they can.
Shannon, you have a comment?
Yes, I apologize for this. We can create the packet and send it to your email so that you can open it from that, and we will call the web team right now and have them upload it so that as you get to the end, it'll be right on the website.
Will that take 5 minutes or less?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stand down and wait for the 5 minutes that it will take. You are on my little timer.
Okay, so Rod, sorry, so let's go just back to the issues list, but then we'll come back to this. Okay. Sorry, commissioners, we'll get it fixed right away.
I just want to make one comment, is that the previous format was pretty awesome, frankly, so I really liked the way it was set up previously, like 2-3 weeks ago. So we all took advantage of it, so I just want to just say, please bring it back, it was great.
It shall be done, commissioners, I apologize. Okay, let's do climate-friendly, equitable communities rulemaking draft comment letter. Dan Johnson, come forward, please. There's a memo in your packet and a draft letter.
You need to get the website fixed.
Chair, Commissioners, this is short and sweet in the interest of time. We don't know a lot about this, but what I will tell you is the fact that on March 10th, 2020, the governor issued an executive order directing state agencies to reduce climate pollution, okay? The Land Conservation and Development Commission is one of those agencies. So basically, they are in a rulemaking process right now. You can see the schedule. It is in the documentation that was attached. What we are simply asking is the board authorize the chair to sign the attached letter, which simply requests some additional time to do a deeper dive into what these changes may be. That is all I am here for today.
Any comments or questions for Dan on this?
That was quick.
Yeah, okay,
Put that down.
go for
It's
it.
like calf roping.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, so board, do you approve sending the letter?
Yes, we approve.
I'll move to approve sending the letter.
Seconded.
Thank you so much.
We'll vote. Any further
We have
comment?
time.
Shannon, call the poll, please.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
All right,
Chair Smith?
And Commissioner Schrader's
Sorry,
online.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0 to send the letter. Thank you very much. Gary, what's up
Great.
next?
Okay, well, I wanted to wait on this, but let's just do it now. I'm jumping down to the bottom of the list. Potential resolutions regarding the pandemic. You want to do this now?
No?
Okay. Okay, let's go back to the issues list. American Rescue Plan Act Up, Nancy left. Okay. Advisory boards and commissions, Shannon.
I have that. The Aging Services Advisory Council, staffed by the Health, Housing, and Human Services Social Services Division, currently has 14 openings on their commission due to renewals and resignations. Members are allowed 3-year terms. The recommendations are as follows. Carol Bernhard, first term. Jalith Formway Nelson, first term. Ann Meter, third term. Daniel Hoshin, second term. Lorraine Durham, second term. Margene Lorton, second term. Sheila Razone Lumetta, second term. And Virginia Seitz, third term.
Any comments from our board on the appointment of this ABC?
move for approval.
Seconded.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval of this appointment, of these appointments. Commissioner Scholl has seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Shannon, please call the poll.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Shannon.
Excellent. So Shannon, as soon as those documents are ready, you'll tell me, please, okay?
I will.
All right, so I'm jumping to board meetings and recess schedule for November and December. You don't have a memo, but I'm going to read this. In November, you have 2 holidays that impact your business meetings. The first is Veterans Day, which is Thursday, November 11th. The second is Thanksgiving, which is Thursday, November 25th. Would you like to cancel those 2 meetings or move them to the day before, which would be Wednesdays? That is what you've done in the past. Hold on that thought. The Association of Oregon Counties Conference is also in November, November 16th through 18th. I assume you're all going to attend, but let's confirm that. And if you do, you'll be canceling your business meeting for that week. So I do recommend you move your Thursday, November 11th and Thursday, November 25th meetings to the day prior on Wednesday. But first, are you all planning on attending the Association of Oregon Counties Conference?
Well, are they still going to hold it in person, or is it going to go virtual?
It is still in person as of this moment in time. It could change, but it's still scheduled for in person.
In Pendleton?
It's in Eugene, Oregon.
Eugene, yes, I plan on being in attendance. Any other commissioners?
I would like to.
I'm planning on being there.
Martha, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be there for part of it.
Part of it, that's fine, Paul. Part of it, Sonia? I mean, I'm not going to hold you guys to this. If something comes up, I understand. But it is so far the intent that all of us will be there at least partially for that week, Gary. So, and the week prior to that is November 11th. Yes, I am in agreement that we should move that business meeting to Wednesday the 10th. I am also in agreement that we move the business meeting, well, on Thanksgiving, we won't be here, obviously, that we move that business meeting to Wednesday the 24th. What do my commissioners think?
That's a good idea.
Okay, good. Gary, what else?
Quickly, on November 11th, that would have been your evening business meeting. So would you like to make the Wednesday, November 10th an evening business meeting or keep it to the morning, knowing that's the day before Thanksgiving?
You mean the day before Veterans Day?
Veterans Day, apologize.
Yeah, I think we can go with the evening on that. That'll be fine.
Okay, so Wednesday, November 10th will be an evening business meeting. Wednesday, November 24th will be a daytime business meeting, both to accommodate the holidays. The week of November 16th through 18th, we will cancel both your policy sessions and your business meeting because you will all be at the Association of Oregon Counties Conference.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Finally, your board recess for December. In the past, prior boards have taken the last 2 weeks of December off as board recess. If you chose to do that again, it would be this year, December 20 through January 3rd. That's including the January 1st holiday. So you'd return for business on Tuesday, January 4th. Do you agree to hold those dates as your recess this year?
Commissioners, what's your thoughts on that?
Fine.
And then the January 1st holiday for county employees is actually January 3rd on Monday, correct?
Correct, yes.
And that's why we are returning on the 4th. It's okay with me. Are there any objections to any of this, folks?
Nope.
I think that works.
Great. Thank you. This gives us planning time to adjust the number of meetings you have before the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. You commissioners, you have each been emailed the entire packet for all the consent agenda items. Is that acceptable enough to move forward?
I believe it needs to be.
It's not online yet, but you have the packet in your email. Is that okay?
That's good.
I'm still not connecting in here with my email on my phone because I have Martha on my screen here, so. Martha,
You
did
can
you
remove
get?
me, I'm still here. You can,
All right. The other option is we can hold it till this afternoon, and that gives us time to make sure it's online.
I would like to get this done. So why, hello, tech people, come in here and save me. Why am I not getting my emails on my phone? Because that's what I'm going to be reading at, and we're not getting the email reception in here. Somebody from TS or back there, come in here.
All right. So that's our video crew, not TS. So any policy
Whatever.
advisors listening, please come in the room, someone to help Chair Smith and the other commissioners.
Yeah, I'm not sure why my Outlook.
And I suspect it's a connection issue, although, Mark, you have it on yours.
The Russians are doing it.
Oh, golly, don't start another conspiracy on us.
Okay, so let's go back to the issues list while staff's figuring that out. Nancy, would do American Rescue Plan Act update, please, come forward.
Good morning. Nancy Bush, County Operations Officer. So there have been a few things happening with ARPA recently. So we found out with the final guidance that will be late fall or later. So I know. So shortly is now defined. However, they are saying that, the guidance that we do have now, we can work under that guidance. If anything changes, they will not recoup the dollars that we may have spent while we're under the guidance that we're under at this time. So we're going to continue to move forward with that. There's a lot of discussion, too, about what we have to have in our contracts. So I'm going to be working with county council as well as with our procurement team to say this statement has to be in all of the contracts, because we're trying to figure out, it's like, what exactly do they have to turn into us? What do they have to track? And also trying to make sure it's not too burdensome, because the smaller, like businesses may have to do this, and the smaller the business or the nonprofit, the more difficult it is. So we're going to be taking some time to do that and make sure that we get that correct, so we can, in case there's an audit, we don't have to pay those dollars back. Let's see here.
Nancy, could you just repeat when you say, I'm sorry, we were multitasking. So
Yeah.
When you say that, what is that?
When I say.
When you said we're going to make sure we're going to do that.
Oh, make
what
sure
is
that we have the right language in all of our contracts, or if we
got
do
it.
any subrecipients, those types of things.
So, and you need the guidance from the Treasury to make sure that.
No, we have, the guidance that we have now, which is about the reporting piece, has those particular outlines in it. So we'll be able to use that in order to know what goes into the contracts that we'll be giving out now. Does that make
So
sense?
what are you waiting for? Oh, you're not waiting?
We're not waiting.
Okay.
We're not waiting.
Sorry.
We're not waiting. The
That's
guidance
what happens when you we cannot multitask. It does not work.
The reporting guidance that we got shortly before the first report was due. So that's why we're just now getting to that piece, because we didn't have that information like 4 or 6 weeks ago. So it's been a moving target and continues to be.
So I just got one thing on that, Nancy. So is it, I hate to say this out loud, but I will. Is it, so for any jurisdiction that took a more liberal interpretation, could essentially get a pass?
It's a really good question, because we do struggle with the interpretation and what it really means. And yes, and Clackamas County does tend to be more conservative. I can't say they will get a pass, because they still have to fit within the guidelines. And is it their own interpretation? Have they gotten information from the Treasury on that? Those types of things, and I can't answer that for sure. But definitely Clackamas County tends to be a little bit more conservative in our views, because we don't want to lose an audit.
Okay, any other? Sonia, go ahead.
So when you started your presentation, you said we will get information late fall or later. What is that we're waiting for?
The final guidance.
From the Treasury Department, correct,
So
on
we have,
how
like,
to spend.
interim guidance that we're using for all of the contracts, but we don't have the final guidance.
That is correct. And they have said that the interim guidance that we have now, they're calling it final interim guidance, we can work under that guidance right now. So let's say, and down the road, they say, oh, well, we're going to take this out of the guidance, but we already, under the guidance we have now, we spent the dollars. They've said they will not recoup those dollars.
They will not what?
But we may not be able to do it later.
Oh.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah.
I know, it's very confusing.
We will not be able to recoup?
They will not.
Oh, they can't penalize us for it, or we are not compelled to pay it back?
That is right. As long as
Okay.
we're under the guidance and the new guidance is not out, and as long as we're
Okay.
following the current guidance.
Yeah, this thing is just so cumbersome and confusing, my gosh.
It is very
Yeah.
cumbersome and confusing.
Any other questions? Are we okay?
I don't think so. But I know we were waiting for guidance to see if we could use ARPA dollars for homelessness, and I don't know where that is, if we have that in the interim guidance or.
Well, our county council did give us a memo that says, here's how we can use the dollars now for either sheltering or for housing. So we do have that guidance from our county council.
Okay.
And I can circulate that again.
And that, I remember the original memo. That was quite some time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah, I know, it was in August, I think.
But it's come back up several times.
It has. So I'm happy to send that memo back around again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then just the other thing, that we're hearing a rumor that we may have to have some information in regarding our lost revenue in by the end of October, so we're exploring that right now. We have a meeting on Monday to determine what that may mean for us. And it's a rumor, we have not seen that in writing yet. So it's really very fluid, but we don't want to be, caught off guard and not have
When you
anything
talk
done.
about lost revenue, are you talking about property taxes, permit fees?
Yeah, it's anything that for government lost revenue.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I just want to, make sure, I spoke to Gary last week, learned maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but we also have districts. So I want to make sure all the districts that lost revenue as a result of COVID actually did that. I'm not sure if there was, because the one staff person was missing out of that discussion, but I want to make sure each of the districts that suffered any, even the Fair Board, for example, I think might be eligible, I'm not sure, but as a result of COVID and those impacts, if they suffered any loss of income, that we take advantage of that before that window closes.
Yeah, and the Fair Board, I know, was a part of our first list, and I'll talk to Elizabeth Comfort about that because she's been collecting that information. What is very complex about that, too, is that we have the calculator that actually come from GFOA, and no one has said that that's the calculator to use. So
No one has what, Nancy?
has said that that is the calculator that we need to use,
Okay.
and that's where some of those complexities come in as well. So if they're asking for us to have our lost revenue to them by the end of October, someone has to say, yes, that's the calculator. It's interesting
The
time.
one district I was raising in particular was NCPRD.
Okay. We do have NCPRD on the list. I remember seeing it.
Okay. Did you ever get any revenue back? Or
No, we haven't done anything on lost revenue yet because we haven't had clear guidance on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my update today. I know it's very complex. As we learn more, we've certainly let you know, but it's almost like every day I think something has changed on ARPA guidance, so. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Nancy Bush on the ARPA funds? Thank you, Nancy. We're still dealing with our technology commissioners. You have been sent an email with an attachment to it. I have not been able to open the attachment, but I'm okay going ahead with this. It's up to what my other commissioners feel comfortable with.
Fine.
I'm fine, let's get it done.
Got it.
Okay.
With the index and all.
So you got yours?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't online. Let's just go ahead and bam them out. Thank you, Kimberly.
So back to the consent agenda. Gerard, please come forward. Health, housing, back to the consent agenda. Health, housing, human services. Approval of starting over. Approval of an interagency agreement with Clackamas Health Centers Division for school-based health centers operating funds. Maximum agreement value $180,000. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Rob.
Yes, and this is for primary health care services. It would be at the school-based health centers at Rex Putnam, Oregon City, and Sandy. And this is essentially a contract between public health and the health centers, all within H3S.
Great.
No county general fund.
Any comments or objections? Hearing none.
Next, approval of an interagency agreement with Clackamas County Health Centers Division for school-based health centers, building mental health services capacity. Maximum agreement value is $185,000. No county general funds are involved.
Same situation, but now this is for mental health services at the school-based health centers mentioned before at Rex Putnam, Oregon City, and Sandy. It's public health to health centers, all within H3S, no county general fund.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none.
Next, approval of a home loan amendment with Green Line Affordable Development Limited Partnership for the Fuller Station Affordable Housing in Happy Valley. Total contract amount is $950,000. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, the key change in this amendment is to reduce the loan from a 60-year loan to a 55-year loan. And this is where the overall development includes 100 units of multifamily transit-oriented mixed-income housing. No general funds were used with this. This is HUD funding.
What kind of signature is required on this document?
I think all things are having to be signed by you.
By me.
Chair.
So we're reducing the term of the loan to save interest.
I actually have our expert in the room, because it was a document that was changed, but we wanted to.
I would think it would require a new signature. Please introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Pamela Anderson, Manager within Community Development. Thank you for having me.
It's okay.
Martha, mute yourself, please. Thank you, dear. Yeah. Go ahead, please explain.
They are requesting the reduction of the loan term from 60 years to 55 years. They are requesting your signature.
Okay. And why are they doing this?
It's coming from the tax credit investor. The underwriters are looking at the length of the term of the loan and questioning if it's a grant or a loan.
Oh, got it. Okay. Commissioner Fisher, you have your hand up.
No, that was my question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Any other questions or objections? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, approval of Health Housing Human Services Community Development Division HUD grant agreements for signature, $3,485,810 total HUD funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and this is a revenue grant from HUD, so we're simply asking for approval to accept those funds.
Okay. Any objections or questions? Yeah, Mark.
How's that $3.4 million going to be used? Once you receive it.
I have my other expert in the room.
Okay. Please introduce yourself,
Madam
expert.
Chair, Commissioners, my name is Mark Sroy, we're your Community Development Manager. I presented this action plan before you in April. We had a public hearing, and then again in May. All the individual projects in each community was kind of lined out for all of these funds, and this is an annual funding allocation.
Okay.
I remember that. It's a good project.
Yes. Would
Thank
you like
you.
us to resend the list to you? Okay, good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good, Rod. Any objections or comments? Hearing none.
Next, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority COVID-19 vaccination operations. Maximum contract value, $1,200,000, funded through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and this is basically adding $200,000 to the current grant that we get to do the vaccinations. So this is a revenue contract. To public health, no general fund, I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Commissioner Fisher?
Where is the funding source? Is it federal or state? Oh, it's funded by OHA, so this is state money, probably from the feds, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
that's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Any
Answer
other
my
comments or
question.
objections? Hearing none.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rod. Next, Public and Government Affairs, approval of a board order renewing the cable television franchise agreement for use with the county's right-of-way by Beaver Creek Cooperative Telephone Company through September 23rd, 2031. This agreement provides franchise fee revenue totaling 5% of the gross revenues of the cable operator. No county general funds are involved. Kelly, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. This is the Beaver Creek Cable Franchise Agreement. We've been negotiating for 3 years. It's pretty straightforward, FCC compliant, and includes all the county's customer service requirements. There's really no major change. I did want to let you know that I negotiated an increase in subscriber fees for PEG, for the PEG, Public Education and Government Channels, which includes the county's government channel and the community college and Willamette Falls Studios, because we are seeing a significant decline in subscribers and in the cable franchise fees that we collect. So people are just disconnecting from cable TV, and so I wanted to, I was able to keep the PEG dollars coming in for the channels.
Why are they disconnecting from TV?
Because they're going to streaming, Hulu, Netflix, any of those types of things. That's been going on for years. We've seen the subscribers about a 3% decrease over the last several years, and similar to the franchise fees that we collect. So, cable operators like Comcast are just raising the prices to compensate for the cable fees, and they're offering new services to the subscribers to try to bring them back.
Okay.
I just need your approval and answer any questions.
Yep. Any other further comments or questions? Hearing none.
My only comment
Yes.
is, I remember in graduate school in 1992, I read a book, it was this big, and it was called Life After Television. And this is reminding me that this
Is that right?
that this is coming true all
Wow.
these years later.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, resolution services. First, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services for adoption and guardianship mediation services. Total agreement value is $300,000 through July 31st, 2024. It is funded through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved. Lauren, go ahead.
That's correct. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. I am here to answer any questions that you have and briefly describe them. The contract is with the Department of Human Services. We have been participating in this since 2016, and this is for authorization for me to sign the contract with the Department of Human Services to receive those funds.
Good. Any other questions or comments for the presenter? Sonia?
Yeah, just a quick question. Since this is through the Oregon Department of Human Services, do you provide services to people outside of Clackamas County for this?
We provide services to whomever they refer to us. However, they do try to make the referrals be regional, and that's how they have contracts throughout the state, so they send us Clackamas cases.
And then other jurisdictions as well?
Yes. Well, do we provide services?
Yeah.
There is a Clackamas contact with some member of the family for all of the cases that they send to us, is my understanding.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, approval of an annual revenue distribution to Clackamas County Resolution Services from the state of Oregon via the Oregon Judicial Department for Family Law Mediation and Conciliation Services in Clackamas County. Total funding is $506,395, funded through the Oregon Judicial Department. No county general funds are involved.
That is correct. That is, you will be familiar with this. These are the monies that we receive. They are a state general fund allocation, which is then passed through the Judicial Department for the provision of domestic relations, mediation, and conciliation services. And it's actually, I apologize if the materials aren't accurate, it's $506,000 per year for each of the years in this current biennium.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll get 2 allocations?
That's correct, and they're distributed annually, so $500,000 this year and $500,000 next year.
Good. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none.
All right, thank you. Next, Water Environment Services. Approval of a joint funding agreement between Water Environment Services and the United States Geological Survey for Johnson Creek water quality and flow monitoring, valued at $10,000, and it comes from the Water Environment Services Surface Water Operating Fund. No county general funds are involved. Ron, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Ron Weir with Water Environment Services. The first 2 items we have before you are very similar. They're joint funding agreements with the U.S. Geological Survey for flow and water quality monitoring in Johnson Creek and the Tualatin River. We've done this work in partnership with the USGS and local municipalities for over 20 years now. This is the current fiscal year allotment for operation of those gauges. We use the information in our surface water management program, and the data that comes from these gauges are useful for other county departments like disaster management and the general public. So we're asking for your permission to continue that work. Item number 1 is for Johnson Creek, and item
You're doing
number
one at a
2
time,
is-
Ron, so just number 1 first.
Any comments or objections for the presenter on this issue? Hearing none, go
Okay, the
ahead.
next item, although Ron already explained it, approval of a joint funding agreement between Water Environment Services and the U.S. Geological Survey for Tualatin River water quality and flow monitoring, valued at $5,800 from Water Environment Services Surface Water Operating Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, same scenario, just on the Tualatin River near Westland, different gauge.
Any questions or objections, Commissioner Fisher?
I'm just wondering, we really have to have it go before the board for $5,800?
Do we have to do what?
Have it go through and have it go through the consent agenda item for such a small amount of money?
Yes. Every penny.
Every penny.
You're accountable.
Commissioner
I'm accountable.
Scholl? Oh, you're okay with that? Okay. Any other objections or comments? Hearing none.
Just to Sonia's question, that's why it's usually typically on the consent agenda.
What was that?
That's why it's typically a consent agenda item.
Okay. It's just, I had understood that under a certain amount.
That was a signing authority.
It didn't need board approval, so I was just curious to see such
I
a
think that
small
was signing
amount.
authority.
Yeah, there's multiple different steps and processes, but in this case, yes. If we're accepting or giving money, it's approved by the board. Okay, finally, approval of an amendment with Murray Smith for engineer design services for the force main on Interstate 205. Contract is not to exceed $812,945. Funded through Water Environment Services funds. No county general funds are involved. This request is to be placed on this Thursday's business meeting. Go ahead, Ron.
Yes, Commissioners, this is on behalf of our engineering team, a project that you heard about to partner with the Oregon Department of Transportation to install a force main on their bridge project over the Willamette, the Abernathy Bridge. We started with a contract with Murray Smith for time and materials to get the project going, and as the scope materializes, we have a better understanding of additional things we need to do to meet ODOT's requirements, like structural engineering, geotech, and some design review. So we're asking for an additional about $313,000 on that contract to get that work done.
Okay. Commissioner Scholl?
How does this project mesh with the widening of I-205 and the Abernathy Bridge starting next spring?
Yeah, Commissioner Scholl, this was part of that project is the work that the ODOT is going to do on the bridge over the Willamette River. And as part of our previous work in our collection system master planning, we identified some deficiencies in the collection system and need to address those through a new force main or an increased capacity force main. This approach, innovative approach, allows us to jump on the project that ODOT's doing now as part of the work they're already doing and install our force main on the bridge. So just basically partnering with them on a project they're already doing.
Any objections? Seeing none, thank you.
All right, we'll place this one on this Thursday's business meeting. Thank you, Ron. Next, Department of Transportation and Development, approval to apply and letter of support for Federal Land Access Program grant to provide a pavement overlay on Barlow Trail Road. Grant value is $4,940,000 with matching funds of $656,892 coming from the road fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan, go ahead.
A little slower this time. So the Federal Highway Administration offers discretionary grants to the Federal Land Access Program, known as FLAP, for improvements to transportation facilities providing access to federal lands. This application seeks funding to conduct pavement rehabilitation on Barlow Trail Road that will repair rutting and surface damage and provide a 2-inch asphalt overlay. Barlow Trail Road is an important minor arterial road that provides access to the Bureau of Land Management Sandy River Trail System and the Barlow Wayside Park, which is operated by County Parks Department but is located on BLM property. I need, for the record, to make something, one small amendment. The dollar amount is incorrect on this particular document. The actual grant request is for $5,510,146. My apologies for the error. The local match is still the same. The percentage is still the same. Just the total grant amount is higher than what these documents say. If you approve this to go forward, we will get that corrected.
Any other questions or comments for Dan? Seeing none.
Please update the staff report.
Pardon me?
Please update the staff report ASAP.
Okay.
Next, approval of a 2019-2021 House Bill 2001 and House Bill 2003 Planning Assistance Grant Agreement with the Department of Land Conservation and Development. No matching funds are required, no county general funds involved.
Thank you so much. Clackamas County applied for a long-range planning, applied for a planning assistance grant from DLCD, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, to enable the county to engage a consultant to provide a more robust, inclusive, and innovative public engagement process for the long-range housing planning work that's going on currently. This is not the first time that you have seen this. In fact, at issues back on June 29th, the BCC approved a letter of support for this particular request. This is simply adding it on to the consent agenda to approve the final contract.
Any comments or objections? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Dan. The finance item is being pulled. It will come back to you next week. There were some further additions to the staff report. Finally, disaster management. Daniel, come on down. Certification of designation of agent resolution for FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Total cost is $85,000 with a 25% local match at $21,250. Monthly service fees are $630. 25% is funded through county general funds already in the disaster management budget. Daniel, go ahead.
You previously approved disaster management to apply for this grant. It will upgrade flood gauges on the Sandy and river and tributaries, allowing for greater notice and more accurate data of the flood. FEMA has requested that we use this specific form to relay this approval of our application so that I can sign that and some supplemental documents that go with it. Council advised bringing this to the board since FEMA labeled it a resolution. And as Gary mentioned, $21,250 of general fund is already in our budget.
Commissioner Savas, Chair Smith has stepped out. If you would please chair the meeting.
Yep. And any concerns with this, Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it on our, what is this called? It's not showing up in my.
It's certification of designation of.
Do we know what?
Shannon, I assume it's at
Is it
the.
fine? Okay, it's not in the order of what's bookmarked, so. Oh, is this the DM1, the
Yes, this is
certification of
disaster
designation
management.
and
Yes.
agent resolution? Okay, if we could just hold just one sec. Okay, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Board? Okay, thank you. Next.
All right, very good. That is the end of the consent agenda request. Back to the issues list. Quickly, your business meeting agenda review for this Thursday, September 16th, 2021, 10 a.m. business meeting. You'll have wildfire update, COVID-19 updates, and then a long consent agenda to catch up from all the new stuff that has happened since you returned from recess. If you have any questions on any items, please let me know prior to Thursday. Chair Savas, you have 10 minutes left. And all that are left are some pretty significant updates from fellow commissioners. So would you like to start any of them or just pause and we'll tackle them all this afternoon?
Well, because the ones that are meaty, I think definitely want to tackle them this afternoon when we have adequate time and no one's rushed. And so I think maybe if there's any commissioner communications we can knock out now that are light duty.
I have a quick one.
Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, I wanted you to know about a Zoom meeting I had yesterday with Valerie Chapman and Craig Balkenberg from the Park Avenue Project Committee, talking to me about their latest efforts to gain consensus in the area. They mentioned that in the next week or so, they want to send the board a letter to delineate those most recent efforts on their part. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. I too met with them. I informed Gary of the progress and their response or not to our last letter dated July, whatnot. I can't remember the exact date.
June 23rd.
When I met with them, I encouraged them to identify a means in which we can work with the other side of the remaining community for working towards a resolution. I said I'm here to build a bridge, don't want to be in between this, but what can we do to get together? And so I'm hoping that they can come back with something that is palatable to all sides to resolve this issue, so we can go to the Planning Commission with some clearer guidance than we currently have.
Commissioner Schrader has her hand raised, Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Schrader.
She's on mute. You're on mute, Martha.
I think I can knock out the Willamette Falls locks update in just a few minutes. Basically, we had our meeting with the task force, appointed by the governor. I'm on a volunteer subcommittee at this point that's going to be working on looking at the criteria for suggestions to the governor of who actually gets put on the authority that is being formed. So that's going on. The other piece of this is that they had a quick conversation about dollars, and they are asking the counties. I wanted to make sure my other commissioners were aware of this. I can mention it to Commissioner Smith at some other time, maybe, this afternoon. They will be asking for dollars from local municipalities, and they are asking for dollars from the county. Previously, I believe we'd given them $40,000 2 years in a row. I did mention that I could not alone commit to money, but I had to run it by my commissioners under issues. all the other municipalities and government entities that attended the meeting, and I can get you a list of that if you'd like, from Turner Odell, and bottom line have said that they would recommit to get some dollars, and this is kind of bridge funding in order to get the authority the dollars it needs to start operations prior to revenue generation that that will happen once the locks is open and running and able to start charging fees. So that's it in a nutshell.
So Commissioner Schrader, I suggest that I'll work with you and staff will work with you on perhaps a proposal that we can come back to the board on what amount,
Right.
if any, we should fund for this. So
Right.
no decisions needed
this
today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's basically startup money, and the funds could actually be returned? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
No, I'm sure that's not the case.
Okay.
I think it's just the commitment to help it be operational. And I was in a situation with the other municipalities where everybody was giving a thumbs up, and I said I had to give a tentative thumbs up because this had to be run by my entire commission. So I left it open.
Yeah, not for
to ask.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Not for today per se, looking for an answer, but it'd be interesting to know what, if we were to say, parse out how much lobbying dollars have we put to our federal delegation and spent on this particular one, portioning out all the different things they do, just to know what that average cost is and know what that average savings will be now that it's near resolution. We won't have to be spending perhaps so much effort on this particular item, but I'd sure like to know what we average annual in an investment on a lock. So maybe we can look at that as a savings or
Yeah,
continuance.
I would say that I'll work with Gary and we'll get that information.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you have anything light, Commissioner Fisher, for an update?
Yeah, I'll have something light. In the Community Action Board met last week and had a really robust conversation regarding their strategic planning efforts, and they are going through and implementing a really in-depth analysis of looking for input from community members and to guide their work. And I'm really looking forward to their product. It was interesting to hear the conversation, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So they've expanded their board, there's more input, they had community input at the meeting, and I let them know, and I gave a little bit of information about how our performance clackamas works through the county and how we have our strategic plan, but this is the effort that will instruct our community action programs, which are dealing with the areas of economic challenges for groups of people. So more to come on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Most of my updates are related to the other items, so I'll just save that for later and we'll just cover it under those particular items. Gary, is there anything else that you want to have any updates on?
No, that's all for this morning.
Okay, we'll return back here at 1:30, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I am late for 1:30, I will be on Zoom, but I will be back. I'm just traveling over the next couple hours.
Okay. So we'll recess till then. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
So.